Today's case is, of course, the gruesome, the horrific Hello Kitty murder. A horrifying case that definitely fit for a Morbid Monday. But yes, this is in Hong Kong. As you guys know, we like to keep it international with our cases. We like doing stuff from all around the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we go to Hong Kong. Before I do though, I got myself a little Chips Ahoy. That's not a very good one. The Hello Kitty murder. We are going to take you guys back to 1999 in Hong Kong. We're gonna introduce you, or rather I am going to introduce you, to a young woman by the name of Man-Yee. And I apologize, as always, if my pronunciations are a little off, but I believe that might be correct. Man-Yee. Man-Yee is 23 in 1999. Man-Yee lived in an orphanage to the age of 16 after being abandoned by her parents. Unfortunately, at the age of 16, Man-Yee was no longer allowed to stay in the orphanage and had to turn to sex work to provide for herself. I'm not sure what sex work laws in Hong Kong are like, but she became a sex worker. And she, unfortunately, also fell into a life of crime and drugs. Very sad backstory for Man-Yee right off the bat. In 1997, Man-Yee becomes a nightclub hostess where she meets a pimp and a drug dealer by the name of Man-lok. He takes a bit of a liking to Fan. They get along, and soon enough, Fan becomes a member of Chan's entourage. Again, he is a pimp and a drug dealer, so not the greatest company to keep. What happens is that at some point, Fan steals $4,000 from Chan Man-lok, and she's caught doing it. He would demand the money back plus interest. That interest wasn't like, oh, like give me a little bit extra. Like that interest was over double what she stole. So not only was she to return the $4,000 to him, but he also wanted $10,000 in interest, which is obviously absurd, right? And I mean, we can imagine that she's probably not making the most money to the point where she had to steal $4,000. So how in the hell is she going to come up with $10,000 as interest? And Spud says, damn, now that's the cycle of crime to keep you under the thumb. And that is how these people like operate, right? Chan Man-lok knows she can't afford to pay back that interest, so she'll always be indebted to him. And so therefore, like Spud says, she's under his thumb. Apparently, the reason why Fan originally stole the $4,000 was to support her drug addiction. And to Sir Spudworth's point, again, too, it's all this big cycle, right? Because in many ways, Chan Man-lok is the one who probably got her hooked on drugs, or even if he wasn't the one, he probably supplied drugs to her. Again, he's a drug dealer. A big cycle. Oh, something I forgot to mention. I didn't realize this is actually important to mention. Not only was Chan a pimp and a drug dealer, but he was also a member of the Triads. If you don't know who the Triads are, they're like the Hong Kong version of the mafia, the mob. You know, so the Yakuza, like, you know, this is not a person you want to fuck with. So she stole $4,000 from Chan Man-lok. Interestingly here, now I have to note this here. This is in my research. This is according to the South China Morning Post. Chan Man-lok decided that until she was able to fully repay the $4,000 and the interest of the $14,000 total, she would work as one of his sex workers. What happens is that Chan Man-lok, the triad, pimp, drug dealer, he is not happy with how long it's taking Fan Man-Yee to return his money. Fan Man-Yee, 1999, at the age of 23, she is kidnapped by Triad members. The three men were members of a secret Triad gang, the ones who kidnapped Fan Man-Yee. The three men kidnapped her in 1999. They take her to Sim Sha Sui, where they keep her for a month. Trigger warning, not only do they keep her there, but they torture her there. They would get high on drugs and they would burn Fan's feet with dripping metal plastic. They would beat her with iron bars, string her up with electric wire, urinate in her mouth, pour chili oil on her wounds, and at one point forced her to eat one of the men's excrement, a man named Inthavong. I apologize for that very graphic description. Absolutely horrific shit. Sick fricks indeed, cameo, and you're allowed to swear here, so sick fucks. I will also note here actually, but Fan Man-Yee also at this time had a 1-year-old, and don't worry, nothing happens to the 1-year-old. I just want to note that she actually has a 1-year-old child at this point. During the time she was held here at this apartment, she was being beaten, she was being tortured, and while she was going in and out of consciousness throughout this entire time of being beaten, of being tortured, these men, they were literally just playing video games in the next room, which is absolutely fucked. And I actually want to go back a little bit. So there's actually another person involved. There was a young girl that was also not really a part of this, but involved. Her name was Fang, and some reports say she's 13 and other reports say she was 14 at the time. Her name is Fang. Fang is the one whose excrement they forced Fan Man-Yee to eat. Fang was the underage girlfriend of Man-lok. So again, let me add something else to this. So this man is a pimp, he's a drug dealer, he's a triad, he's also a fucking pedophile. So over the course of a month, in March of 1999, Fan Man-Yee is locked in this apartment and is tortured by these three men. Eventually, assumedly as a result of all this torture, all this beating, all this horrific stuff, she would pass away in April. And what would happen is that these three men, they would cut her body into pieces in the bathtub with a saw. They would then boil the pieces and threw her out with the household trash. They would then boil down her head, and they made noodles at the same time, sometimes using the same chopsticks to stir the noodles and the head. I want to clarify that they weren't eating the head, but while they were boiling down the head, they were also making noodles at the same time and using the same utensils. Either way, it's fucked up. These people clearly, they're just fucking disgusting fuckers. But we continue. This case is known as the Hello Kitty murder because her head was stuffed in a Hello Kitty mermaid doll. But I'm very happy, at least to share, well, happy is, considering all this. This is not an unsolved case, and these gentlemen were indeed caught. How were these three men caught for the murder of Fan Man-Yee? Well, this sick monster's pedophilia, this sick monster's very bad decisions would come back to bite him, because it is Fang, his underage victim, I'm gonna say, not his girlfriend, his victim. She's the one that reports him to the police. Fang goes to the police station where she informs the police that she is being haunted by the ghost of a woman who had been tortured and died. That takes a lot of courage on her part. What's interesting is that Fang, as I mentioned, goes to the police because she believes she's being haunted by the ghost of Fan Man-Yee. Whether or not that's true probably depends on, where you align as far as being, a believer or a skeptic. Jules says, I don't think she's haunted. Highly likely it's the guilt and how messed up she had gotten. But yes, she goes to the police. Fang goes to the police and she reports that she's being haunted by this ghost. And of course, the authorities are like, the fuck are you talking about? Like a ghost? Like, yeah, you're a kid, get out of here. The authorities actually refused to believe her. But thankfully, Fang persevered and said, okay, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna take you there and show you where it was committed. And the flat that she took them to was notably also covered by a Hello Kitty merchandise. Not only was Fang's head put into a Hello Kitty doll, but this apartment where she was tortured in was just covered in Hello Kitty merchandise. The police go into this apartment and they find Fang's body parts in the fridge, and they find Fang's decapitated head stuffed into that Hello Kitty mermaid doll. Something that's also worth noting is that Fang, very smartly, told the police all this information in exchange for immunity. Thankfully, these monsters were such idiots that they had body parts still lying in the apartment, and so the evidence was all there. Fang gets immunity, and the three men are arrested. Leung Wai-lun, 21 years old, Leung Shing-cho, 27 years old, and Man-lok, 34 years old. Let's stress that again. This man is 34 years old. Absolutely sick. They are sentenced in December 6th, 2000. They're sentenced for killing Fan Man-Yee, chopping up her body, and then putting her head in that Hello Kitty doll. The sentence was given after a 6-week trial, and they were found guilty of manslaughter and unlawful imprisonment. Again, I'm not familiar with Hong Kong charges laws. I don't know, that manslaughter, that's murder to me, but maybe for them, it's the same sort of thing. I don't know if manslaughter is the word I would use to describe that. The jury agreed that the men did not intend to kill her, but she did die due to the injuries they inflicted on her. What the fuck does that? Well, how did they not intend to kill her considering everything they put her through? Like, what did the jury think they were gonna do? Like, if she hadn't died, they thought that they were just gonna release her? Very frustrating. These Mormon Mondays always get me riled up. They get us all riled up. At least we get riled up together, huh, people? Because of the charge they were given, these men were only given 1 month behind bars before being released on parole. I'm just fucking with you guys. I want to see the reaction in the chat to that. The last thing was just so preposterous that I thought maybe the chat's reaction is accurate. I'm just fucking with you guys. Don't worry. You don't have to be, you guys don't have to be pissed. You guys don't have to be mad. They were sentenced to life without parole. It's unknown what directly caused her death to this day, because only her skull, internal organs, and a single tooth were found in the refrigerator of the flat where she was killed. We're not sure exactly what was the cause of death, but I mean, over the course of a month of torture, I mean, Lord knows, like just the trauma of the entire month could have just done her. It could have been, Hey. Hong Kong was obviously shocked by this crime. We cover a lot of true crime here. I've covered a lot of true crime for the BuzzFeed Unsolved Network, and this one case is just so shocking, so horrifying that that it makes complete sense that Hong Kong was like, what the hell? In the words of Senior Inspector Alvin Chung, in my 21 years in the police force, I have never seen such a cruel case of someone tortured to such an extent for a month. Another article by the Washington Post claims that the reason why the men were only charged with manslaughter and not heavier charges was because there wasn't enough evidence, as we noted, to prove if she died due to being murdered or for another reason, such as a drug overdose. Even if she didn't literally die because one of them stabbed her or something and maybe she, succumbed to her injuries or had a drug overdose, the intent was obviously still there for her to be murdered. That's what makes no sense to me. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Hello Kitty murder. As always, I turn to all of you. Let me know. As always, I turn to all of you. I'd love to know your thoughts. I would say theories, but I mean, thankfully, this is not an unsolved case and the perpetrators are behind bars. But if you have theories to throw out as well, please let me know. Sir Spudworth says, holy shit, what a morbid Monday to tune into. Yeah, you chose the right one. Or I guess you chose probably the wrong one. That said, if this is your first time here, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure doing these streams for you all, as dark as they get, and I appreciate you guys being here. Be you watching in the chat live right now or you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you all holding my hand down this dark tunnel that is the depravity of humanity, so I don't have to go it alone. Eesh.